Hey everyone, welcome back to Dana's Cocktail Hour. Today's topic is adolescent life. And if you are an adult, you've been through it one time. If you have children, you've been through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many children you have. And you may be going through it now, depending on if you have a child who is between the ages of 10 and 19, according to the life stage of an adolescent. It definitely is a difficult life stage for not only the child, but the parent. Because it's, to me, or for me, it was a time where it was a journey of trying to figure yourself out. Not knowing who you are, not knowing who you should be or who you're going to be. You have all the outside influences, all the outside noise telling you different things. You're trying to listen to your parents, you're trying to listen to your peers, and any other family member, whether it's a church member, whether it's an aunt or an uncle, that's trying to steer you in the right way. But at the end of the day, you want to try to gain some independence as an adolescent. I chose to pair adolescent life with the beverage of the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is a mixture of Hypnotic and Hennessy, which when you mix those two cocktails together, it turns green, which then reminds us of, for me, back in the day, when we used to watch the Incredible Hulk series, David Banner. So, which came, it's how I came up with that, going with the Incredible Hulk. Because as an adolescent, you could be one day, 1 minute, and the next day, don't nobody know who you are. Sometimes you don't even know who you are. And you kind of can sometimes lose control of yourself. You don't know if you're coming or going. So I find that, looking back on my adolescent years, it's definitely very important for you to be self-aware. Because I feel like if you're self-aware, then you're showing up as who you are, confident in who you are. We don't always want to feel like our parents are telling us what to do. What they really are trying to do is give us some good sound advice. Because with the development of your brain at certain places, at certain stages in your life, you don't have the insight, or you don't have the wherewithal, or you're not thinking ahead. You're just thinking for that moment. And which is what we do at that age, but it's not always the best thing to do. We need to know that early on, the decisions and the mistakes that we make can have a long-lasting effect on our life later on in life. And you don't want to go out here and make a decision or make a mistake, something you can't recover from, something your parent can't recover from. It can cause financial strain, it can cause emotional strain, it can cause a rift in the whole family dynamic. It's better if you just do more thinking before you act. Now, like I said, your brain at that age is not thinking that way, but hopefully what I'm saying will kind of help bring that type of thought to your mind. Self-confidence. Self-confidence is very important, especially when I find that it's very important when you are embarking on your middle school years, because that's the stage I feel, or what I felt while I was trying to fit in, you're seeking out relationships, and you later find out aren't really good relationships for you, aren't healthy relationships for you, because they're just as fickle as you are. Friends, or quote unquote friends, come and go. I would have liked to known, the term associates, because those middle school people you are around on a daily basis, they are just as unsure of themselves as you are. So, you all are trying to navigate that life stage together. And you can come across some, children or teens that are more mature in that life stage. But for the most part, through my experiences as an adolescent and as a parent of adolescents, now I always prided myself on thinking that my children were more mature than others, which they were to a certain degree, but they also had their ups and downs when it came to navigating being an adolescent. Peer pressure. Peer pressure is a pressure like no other. Because you want to try to fit in, you want to try to wear, what the popular crew is wearing, or the clique, or the squad, or however you want to categorize your people that you hang out with. You want to be able to do some of the things that they're allowed to do. When you have some parents that are stricter than others, so that's definitely a something you try to halfway balance. But again, you can't get caught up in the outside noise. You can't get caught up in the outside influence, because at the end of the day, you have to go back home to your parents. You have to go back home to your rules. You have to go back home to your lifestyle that your parents see is going to work for them. I'm not trying to raise nobody else's child. I'm not raising anybody else's child. So what I do in my house may not be what somebody else does in their house, which that should be okay, but that don't always you can't always drive that point home, because in their mind as an adolescent, they don't care about that. They don't care that, what their parent says is what it is. Not all the time, because they're trying to find themselves. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to do what they see others doing. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And you want to try to create more leaders than followers, although you do have to be able to follow before you can lead. But my experience, as that between the ages of 10 and 19 is a place of being unsure about everything. And I think that uncertainty comes from, what you deal with early on, what your foundation it looks like. Because I believe, or I feel like a lot of my uncertainty came from my early years, as far as, again, going back to an absentee father. not knowing when he was coming or if he was coming. And that also can create that whirlwind throughout your life stage of being adolescent. Like, again, 10 to 19. Thinking back, 10, I was in elementary school. So I don't remember having a lot of issues at that stage. Middle school was a whole different ball game. Again, like I said, it's more of trying to fit in, trying to build friendships, relationships, thinking, or beginning to look at the opposite sex as, oh, he's cute, or he's nice looking, and that's all you see. You don't know how they're raised. You don't know, what their parents have taught them. As a female, it's very important to know what kind of upbringing, that male that you're deciding to get involved with, what kind of upbringing they have. Do they have their mom in their life? Are they told to respect women? Do they have their father in their life? Do they have a role model that's going to teach them how they're supposed to treat a young lady, how you should talk to them? Because if they don't have that, that's a problem. That's a real problem, because I've always been told, which is not set in stone, but I've always been told how a man or how a male treats their mother is how they're going to treat you. And I have, based on the men that I have closely been related to, whether it's a personal relationship or whether it's a family relationship, how they interact with their mother has been how they have treated their significant other, wife, girlfriend, whatever. So when it comes to that life stage, communication is key. Because communication goes both ways. Communication involves listening, and that's the parent listening, it's the child listening, and it requires, or also includes, talking, speaking, sharing your thoughts and your feelings. And it may not be what you want to hear, but sometimes it's what you need to hear. Whether it's the parent needing what they need to hear, or the child needing to hear what the parent is saying. I believe I grew up in an era where you didn't talk. You heard what your parents said and that was it, which that's not always good. Because for me, I kind of muted myself, or I held in my thoughts and my feelings, my emotions, and that can kind of carry over into your adulthood, because when you're trying to talk to someone and they're talking, they may have been raised where they were allowed to talk, and you're trying to talk, but you know that, well, no one's going to listen to me anyway, so why do I need to talk? Why do I need to say anything? Why do I need to share my thoughts and my feelings? And so when it comes to parenting an adolescent, or being an adolescent, communication is definitely something that can alleviate the child going and talking to someone else, and you don't know what information they're getting. Because it could be that the information they're getting is not the information that you want them to have. It could be the information that totally goes against what you think, what you feel, your morals. Could be some type of other religion, could be a cult, and because they're trying to seek out someone that's going to tell them what they want to hear, there's no telling what they can get caught up in. So again, like I said, being an adolescent is a difficult journey. Parenting an adolescent is a difficult journey. But I feel like, if we open up the lines of communication, that can definitely change, especially what's happening now, because you have these kids that are gaining access to firearms, and they're going out here and with their adolescent brains going out here, as my daughter Dominique, she made a valid point. They are doing, they're solving temporary issues with permanent solutions. Because when you go out here and you all hot-headed and somebody has teed you off or upset you, or you feuding with someone, you go out here and shoot, kill them, stab them, whatever you feel like you think you need to do. And that's a permanent solution that didn't have to happen if there was a line of communication opening up. And that's another discussion that needs to be had. Conflict resolution. These adolescents have no conflict resolution. Their only resolution is, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you just as much as you hurt me. And you kill someone, that affects that family, the families that are tied to that family. It affects your family and the families that are tied to your family, because you could go to jail, prison for life. So you've affected the person you killed, you've affected their life, the lives that are tied to that life. And then if you go to prison for a month, 10 months, 10 years, your life is affected, and the lives that are tied to your life are affected. And it just doesn't have to be that way. We as a community need to figure out a way to get these kids more involved in more positive everything. Positive activities, positive relationships, positive solutions, whatever it's going to take to shift these kids back into a different mindset. Because I'm telling you, I've been working in the school system. This is my 23rd year, and since I've been in the school system, I've always said, and I've come in contact with people that have constantly said, this is a different breed. I would have to say the 90s babies on up to now, they are a different breed, because the things that they do, the things that they think, the things that we would never, people that are my age, we would never think to do and say some of the things that they think to do and say. We had a reverence for the older generation. No, we didn't always like what they were doing. We didn't always like what they were saying. We didn't always like the advice that they were trying to give. But we had a reverence. We talked about it amongst ourselves, and we didn't act on it. We didn't, like I said, we didn't always like what they said, but we didn't let them know. We had enough sense about ourselves to say, oh, respect. That's something that this generation, they don't have. The respect has gone out the window and rolled down the street. And somebody has run it over. The respect level is very little. I'm not going to say it's at 0%, but this percentage of respect that these children have is very low. And I don't know where that shift happened. I don't know if it changed because of the parenting styles. I don't know if it changed because of social media. I feel like social media definitely has a lot to do or somewhat to do, because I'm not going to put that much on, television, games, movies, because parenting starts at home. And if you give a good, healthy, solid foundation, then some of the outside noise, it can be muted. And that's also where, we need to go back to having and starting a foundation that is solid. It's going to crack and it's going to crumble a little when they go out here and they trying to navigate certain things. But we definitely need to get back to a solid foundation with parents and grandparents. And so today, my letter to myself. Hey, younger you. I'm not quite sure of what to say to you about this life stage. It is a stage of uncertainty. Uncertain of who you are, who you want to be, and who you should be. Based on what you've been told by others, you are pretty, nice looking, beautiful, whatever adjective they choose to use. You don't really understand what others see. You are constantly teased about the shape of your nose by some of your peers, which causes you to be extremely self-conscious about how you look. You don't have the latest fashions, which causes you to be even more self-conscious. You really are a lovable, likable person, but it's difficult to see through all the outside influence. Throughout your high school years, you will be known as Carl's sister, which causes you more uncertainty. You make friends and foes. You build relationships while cheering in middle and high school, which you regret not sticking with throughout high school. You allow a certain individual to distract you, which causes you to lose all your good sense of what is right and what is wrong. This person takes you on the ride of your life, which then causes you and your mom's relationship to take a serious dive. After many twists and turns, something happens that brings you back to yourself like the prodigal son. I'll tell you about that later. Love the wiser, healed you. I want to thank you again for tuning in to Dana's podcast. And I will see you all next time. Thanks again.